Welcome back, Kryptonians, to the Chart Experts continuing coverage of Bitcoin and the crypto charts. Today we are looking at Bitcoin market dominance. There is lots to say about this chart, and I've tried to find another video from some other YouTuber to address market dominance. There may be lots of these videos, but I couldn't find one recently. I know this is a topic which has been raised recently, and I've just got some comments about. I just wanted to do this to give it some degree of justice, really, because a lot of the analysis that I see is so poor. It just beggars belief, really, that it's those types of videos get so many views, really. So going back to, well, as far back as this particular chart goes, so roughly around 2014, we've seen a steady decline in Bitcoin dominance, culminating in a previous all-time low of 35% in Bitcoin dominance. Okay. And since then, we saw a move back into Bitcoin to roughly 73%. And now we've seen another decline in Bitcoin dominance. Okay. Now that culminated in a interim low of about 38%, and since then, for the last, I should say, about 6 months or so, we've seen Bitcoin dominance rise to about 47%. So currently, right now, it is still just below 50% of the overall crypto market cap. So let's just take a pause there and think about that. I'm just going to annotate this chart just so that you know what I'm thinking. Okay. So 100% is basically the limit, which suggests that everything else has died, and Bitcoin is basically the one and only use case for cryptocurrency. The ecosystem is more or less dead, and all of these projects, all of these people who are employed in these projects have suddenly gone away or moved into Bitcoin. Okay. I would suggest that a monopoly situation for any market is inherently unhealthy. Okay. But what we have seen since 2015, 2014 is a move towards a more diverse and healthy cryptocurrency ecosystem where there are lots of use cases for crypto, and people's minds are being opened up about how to use cryptocurrency effectively in a wider economy, and more use cases are coming into realization, and more projects are being built with cryptocurrency as part of that particular use case and part of that innovation. Okay, so if you are for a healthy, vibrant cryptocurrency economy, then you want to see a decline in Bitcoin dominance. Okay. Now, if you're a Bitcoin maximalist and think that Bitcoin can solve all problems, then you'd want to see the opposite of that. Okay. Now, that's not to say that Bitcoin can't continue to increase in price whilst dropping in terms of its market dominance. And that's what I think is going to happen. Basically, I think that Bitcoin most likely is going to continue to increase in price whilst losing its unhealthy monopolistic dominance that we saw in the initial stages of this new seed of an ecosystem. So that's my overall perspective on the Bitcoin market dominance situation. But what we need to be clear about is the fact that this is a trend. So the trend in terms of Bitcoin dominance is clearly down. Okay. Now, I've seen some YouTubers draw a range over here. Okay. So I've seen this type of a range being drawn, which would suggest that Bitcoin dominance is some type of a stock or a cryptocurrency where range trading is likely, and people are going to move out of one project into Bitcoin. But really what we need to bear in mind is the fact that cryptocurrency now and the crypto market as a whole is such a diverse ecosystem that's being built that it's very unlikely that it's a simple binary switch between one cryptocurrency and Bitcoin and one cryptocurrency and Bitcoin, and that people would just abandon those projects suddenly and move back into Bitcoin. It's just not how this chart is likely to work. So this chart is a little bit unique when we're looking at particular cryptocurrency charts. It's not one compared to 1,000 or more. It's simply that cryptocurrency against Bitcoin or that cryptocurrency in dollar terms and so on. Okay. So this chart needs a little bit of unique attention. We need to be aware of the fact that this is actually, if we are expecting, for example, for Bitcoin to move up here, we're making a play in effect to say that we can somehow compare Bitcoin against the 1,000 other different projects simultaneously. And that's really unrealistic, in my opinion. Okay. Because that's 1,000 different variables that you're comparing against Bitcoin. Now it's okay if you're trying to make the, in my opinion, false distinction that there is only Bitcoin and that's the only worthwhile project out there, and so on. But that's a closed-eyed view, in my opinion. It's very unlikely that you can make a comparison between Bitcoin and the 1,000 different projects out there and say, okay, I can predict that everyone's going to abandon all of those all at once, and that all that money somehow is going to move into Bitcoin because suddenly Bitcoin solves everything. Okay, so what we should be looking at here is the fact that these movements do suggest that there is a very clear trend in place, and that it's unwise to go against that particular trend. Okay, so that's my take on it. Now, I do have a longer term view on things, so there is some short term strength in Bitcoin, and we can see that here. Okay, there is some short term strength in Bitcoin, where we've seen very little selling, these small bits of selling in terms of the monthly outlook. So we've seen small bits of selling, and on the whole, there has been more price appreciation in Bitcoin. Okay, but we can't ignore that this is short term compared to, well, all of this movement here and all of this movement here. Okay, so these are the bigger waves that we should not ignore when we're looking at Bitcoin dominance. Okay, and what I also want you to pay attention to when you're looking at this particular chart is the fact that, well, this is kind of an analysis of time as well. So let's look at this particular move here. Okay, so this is a representation of how long that move took. And if we were to give it, for example, a red background, okay, and now let's look at how long Bitcoin took to claw back some of that territory. I'm just going to do this quickly. Okay, so as we can see, the decline in Bitcoin dominance was over a short period of time. So it took February 17 to February 18, that's 1 year of Bitcoin dominance decline. And then to claw that back, it took March 18 to January 21. That's what, roughly about 3 years. Okay. Can look at it like this. So yeah, so roughly about 3 years, just short, I should imagine. And then to give it all back, pretty much it took probably less than a year. So January 21 to August 21. So let's say about 6 months, 7 months or so. Okay, so we can't ignore this fact. I've seen people sort of, it's very frustrating looking at other YouTubers' technical analysis, really, because it's just so many things are ignored, and so many conclusions are drawn, which I just think I just hold my face in my hands basically. And so anyway, um, um, so that's how quickly Bitcoin declined in market dominance, and then it tried to claw back that market dominance, and then very quickly gave it back up again. Okay, now, as I said previously, there is some potential for this market dominance to, in the short term, to claw back again some of this market dominance, but we can't ignore the fact that there is a very clear, very strong move away from Bitcoin being a unhealthy monopoly and into a Bitcoin that still thrives in terms of price in a diverse and healthy ecosystem. Okay, so I hope that's helpful to you. Now, a couple of other things that I just want to, well, one or two things that I wanted to cover. And so I'm going to take away these helpful time and price candles. We can leave on some of the labeling. So if you're familiar with Elliott wave analysis, you will know that we normally have impulse waves. So that would be your impulse wave. And then we have a retrace and then a move beyond the previous high. Okay, so this being the previous high, this being the retrace. So I'm just going to grab our our Fibonacci retrace tool, and we can see that we've had a healthy 50 to 60% retrace in Bitcoin market dominance. So if we're looking at this from a Elliott wave point of view, which I think here is not going to be a, well, you could argue that it's a genuine application of Elliott wave theory, but let's look at it anyway. So that's a wave one. Then we'd have a deepish wave two, where people start doubting the rationale and the reason behind the initial impulse, which is what we're seeing really. Okay, so this is your wave two, and then we'd expect a strong push down into a wave three, where Bitcoin dominance would decline beyond and below 35%. Okay, so your wave three would come in probably around here somewhere. Okay, so it could be deeper. But even from, for example, an ABC, well, doing an ABC correction on this chart is just totally fake, really, because price can't increase beyond 100%. So I think just looking at it from a point of view of wave one, which was the prior significant bull market, wave two, and then a wave three moving Bitcoin dominance down even further. That's what would make sense. Another way which we can look at this is, let's do this and let's invert this chart because it's really the wrong way up. The base is at the top. The 100% monopoly situation was the history, the initial start of this this chart, and really this chart needs to be looked at the right way. So let's do that. Let's look at it like this. Okay, now this presents an even clearer picture, really. So this is how we look at a normal cryptocurrency chart, whether we're looking at Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, Bitcoin Cash, EOS, or whatever else. So this is interesting. Now I just want you to have a look here. And we can zoom out a little bit more. Okay, now this is a 3-month chart. This is helpful to take out some of the noise that we've become used to. And let's put on the actual Bitcoin price chart so we can get a comparison of how these dominance moves are compared to the actual price of Bitcoin. Okay, so what we can see is that the price of Bitcoin at the 2018 high resulted in the market dominance of Bitcoin declining to 35%. We then had the bear market, and price basically, well, Bitcoin dominance declined, Bitcoin dominance increased, where there was a move back into fear. But as you can see, the decline in price according to this, where the price declined down to a low in October 2018, but Bitcoin dominance continued to increase up to, what was it, July 19. And then there was a move sideways. So Bitcoin retained that particular dominance. And now, with Bitcoin rising in price up to the 69K high, what we've seen is that even though there's been a move into Bitcoin and a move pushing Bitcoin to a higher price than the 2018 high, the dominance of Bitcoin has actually declined. Okay, so recently what we've seen is that even when Bitcoin has been increasing in price substantially from 20k all the way to 69k, the effect on Bitcoin dominance has been negative. Okay, so suppose we were to see Bitcoin go up in price further, we would very likely see Bitcoin dominance decline further. So, having had a look at Bitcoin price and Bitcoin dominance, both charts together, we'd have to draw the conclusion that bull markets are not good for Bitcoin dominance. Okay, so if you're expecting Bitcoin to now move up strongly in price, then we'd expect for Bitcoin dominance to decline further. And on this occasion, we'd expect that 35% dominance to be breached. And in this case, because the chart is inverted, we'd expect for Bitcoin dominance to go down, or up in this chart into the 20s. Okay, now let's just do a Fibonacci extension here and just see if we can draw some conclusions. So even a 1-to-1 move compared to the previous Bitcoin dominance impulse, which was moving down obviously to 35%. If we were to do that, we'd expect to see at least a decline of Bitcoin dominance to 27% and potentially all the way to 15%. Okay, so these are essentially our targets. For Bitcoin dominance to decline to, okay, 27% or 15%. Now these are, I'm not going to pretend that we can do a realistic analysis of Bitcoin against all the other crypto market participants, because it's just, I think this is sort of a bit pie in the sky. But what we can see is that there is definitely a strong move away from Bitcoin being a monopoly, and there is a strong move into Bitcoin being the seed of a diverse and healthy ecosystem. I hope this helps. Please give this video a like, subscribe, share it. Hey, this is Asim at the Chart Experts, wishing you every success. Join me on Patreon, where I can keep you more regularly updated. Otherwise, I will see you in the next video. Take care of yourself and your crypto. Till next time. Bye bye.